Hi, everyone. My name is Gia. I'm a luxury brand consultant, and I am the founder of Lord and Partners. And today I'm going to really just dive into the world of luxury beauty, luxury and prestige beauty to be exact. I have a really interesting layout for you guys today, and I'm going to just dive right into it because there have been so many challenges, but at the same time, there has been some growth opportunities that I really want to discuss today. It's a very interesting time within the luxury industry as a whole. And so, if you guys are not familiar with it, I would say that the luxury industry has definitely faced its challenges beginning in like last year. There has been a lot of shifts when it comes to consumer behavior, macroeconomic pressures. We also have seen a lot of self-inflicted corporate tensions from creative director shakeup, specifically within fashion houses, but it still does reflect on the luxury beauty space in a way, as well as price hikes. So we're seeing a lot of that happen. And we are also seeing luxury leaders, conglomerates to be exact, like LVMH and Kering missing revenue expectations within the first half of 2025. So it really highlights a lot more broader market pressures as a whole. Personal luxury goods sector, that includes jewelry, eyewear, women's wear, menswear. Again, that fashion sector really is reflecting of the luxury industry and on the beauty sector as well. We're seeing a 2% decline in spending, and it's really reflecting the 2008 recession, the financial crisis that we've been through. So it's at an all-time low right now, but it's beginning to stabilize, or brands are looking to actually stabilize their revenue. But I'm going to be diving into talking about this, on a more beauty level. But I definitely, find it impossible to just, talk about beauty without talking about the state of luxury in general as a whole. And so, also interestingly, we're also seeing aspirational consumers begin to decline. Specifically, aspirational consumers, I tend to see this pretty much as younger generations like Gen Z, millennials that really once fueled that post-pandemic luxury growth, where a lot of savings from the pandemic were being dumped into luxury goods. But now we're just seeing the complete opposite. And so I'm very like excited to really dive into how that all has reflected on beauty, especially because beauty has been seen as this recession-proof category. It's been supported by aspirational consumers that are willing to spend despite economic pressures. Beauty pricing is like that affordable luxury pricing, and it can be anywhere between that mass to luxury pricing, but it's still all affordable. And there was a term coined back in 2008 during the financial crisis from an economist. I'm not really quite sure what the man's name was, but it was called the lipstick effect. And pretty much, because everyone could not spend on those like true luxury goods, like like true luxury products, leather goods, high-end fragrances and eyewear that would probably cost anywhere between $1,000 to $3,000. I mean, obviously now that pricing is a lot more, it makes a lot more sense as accessible luxury pricing now, than 2008. But it was basically considered a smaller luxury investment for aspirational consumers to invest in things like lipstick, fragrances, and skincare products to avoid spending on bigger luxury items, and it's one of the things that really left consumers feeling satisfied, like they still walked away with something or a part of that, something a part of that brand DNA. So, of course, when it comes to the slow growth behind beauty, you definitely want to look to market leaders like Coty, Estee Lauder, L'Oreal. Everyone has pretty much seen a mixed performance. And then some have stabilized their revenues, and then others have declined in revenue. And, a lot of this was driven by factors from innovation gaps, market slowdowns in regions like China, for instance, because a lot of these companies placed a big bet on China. And so most of their revenue decline is coming from that. But nevertheless, it is aspirational consumers where, they are avoiding like that luxury to prestige price point right now. We're also seeing like mass beauty brands like e.l.f. Cosmetics begin to outpace prestige and luxury beauty categories. Everyone wants to avoid that overconsumption, but we're also seeing a rise of the dupe culture. Instead of buying that $40 lip oil, it's the $14 lip oil. So everyone's posting that on TikTok, and it's something that, really does kind of leave aspirational consumers in a place where, okay, what do I choose from? Obviously, going to be the lot more affordable option. And of course, we know the beauty industry is saturated, but there's always room for success. More so behind consumer spending is becoming a lot more fickle. I would say most consumers within the beauty industry, they're not really categorized as loyal. That really leaves brands at a state of instability. And lastly to that, I would definitely say that beauty has been driven a lot by fragrance. Fragrance has been really driving the performance behind beauty stabilization and revenues. So I'm interested on how that's going to take a turn in coming months, but diving right into the market tensions right off the bat. So I had to dive into this, you guys, because it's been a very challenging time, like I said, within the luxury sector, but I'm seeing a lot of luxury and prestige beauty brands begin to kind of like mimic those mass beauty marketing tactics, sales and distribution techniques. And it's something that I definitely believe that luxury and beauty brands should not fall into the trap of doing. And it's actually probably one of the reasons why we are seeing slow growth and less consumers interested in even purchasing a high quality luxury beauty product. And so one of the reasons obviously is because the saturation of legacy players. Fashion has now merged into the world of beauty. It's now like their universe now. So Chanel Beauty, Dior Beauty, Prada Beauty, I mean Tom Ford, I mean all of the brands are diving into beauty or have been in beauty for quite some time. And so they're obviously bringing in a lot more deep capital, global reach, cultural dominance. They have the story. They also have a lot more trust and loyalty. And they pretty much can sell status over performance. We all know that performance is 100% important when it comes to the beauty space, whether it's a makeup or skincare product, but and they still do have to work just as hard as not maybe just as hard, but they worked pretty hard to really build up that trust. But when they're diving into skincare, I mean, it makes it a lot easier for them because they do have that leverage. So you're looking at smaller and emerging beauty players, having to fight a lot harder to really earn that attention, to really break through that noise, without imitating other legacy players and creating this incomparable product quality and brand originality positioning. So that's becoming a lot harder for these brands to do. Um, and here's where it really gets interesting. And this is what I really wanted to bring out in this presentation today, is mass marketing strategies are being overlapped. So like I said earlier, we're seeing luxury and prestige beauty brands begin to see the success of an e.l.f. Cosmetics. They see the success of Glow Recipe, and they really want to signal that and make sure that they're reflecting that in their strategies. Big mistake. Although they are signaling mass beauty brands are signaling better tactics and wider reach. This is also, it's not something that a luxury and prestige beauty brand should mimic. It really leaves consumers confused about what is truly premium. Is this a true luxury beauty product, or is this just another expense? So we're also seeing that overlap with marketing, distribution, sales. And so this really leaves luxury beauty brands undifferentiated when it comes to their pricing models. It weakens their brand clarity and just, their overall value as a whole. And then, of course, when it comes to retail, we're seeing this as well. There's been a lot of traditional dependency on those like huge beauty retail players, like obviously Sephora and Ulta is a really, it's deemed as successful when you are entering into these types of retailers, but there's obviously a lot more demand once beauty brands are on the shelf. When it comes to luxury and prestige markets, though, there are still a lot of blurred lines. Direct to consumer obviously shouldn't be the only channel that beauty brands should use because we know that beauty at heart is multi-sensory. However, it should pretty much have a very differentiated approach, like anything else when it comes to marketing, when it comes to selling, especially when it comes to how brands first experience that, or how consumers first experience the brand. So, yes, securing that shelf space at a Sephora or Ulta is truly demanding, but um, these luxury and prestige beauty brands I've seen enter into these retailers really depend entirely for these retail partners to fuel the energy behind their brand and to fuel that success. That's not what's going to happen. Obviously, brands have to work 10 times harder, but we need to see a lot more control when it comes to the brand experience and consumer relationship as it relates to a luxury and prestige beauty brand. So the positioning is still diluted, and it's going to undermine brand value. And again, if you have a 40, maybe a $200 eye cream sitting next to a $20 eye cream, the $20 eye cream may work a little bit better than a $200 eye cream, but at the same, and then you also, so not only you have a lack of product excellence, but you also are seeing a less dedicated experience to that $200 eye cream. You're not seeing that dedicated brand ambassador in the store that's educating the consumer on why the eye cream is a lot better and why it's worth investing the $200. So definitely wanted to really give attention to the retail aspect of this. Um, and then we're also seeing how value and perception, that gap is becoming further and further apart. So consumers today, they not only demand proof, but they expect transparency around ingredients, storytelling, and experiences that really align with their values. And a lot of the luxury and prestige sectors, specifically within the beauty space, are under scrutiny. There's a lot of rising questions now about quality, sustainability claims, because oftentimes we see products that have the beautiful packaging, but the product formulation isn't exclusive and it doesn't necessarily work. So now definitely it's seeing as, more of just another price point. So brands with luxury or prestige positioning, we're seeing them produce a lot more generic formulations or minimal innovation because they believe that status will only sell. But there's a higher risk of just being perceived as overpriced and failure to really deliver that meaningful differentiation. And then the consumers eventually begin to disengage. And as I said earlier, we have a fleeting aspirational consumer. And, we do see a lot of those consumers drawn to the mass beauty brands. And of course, there are many reasons for that. But when you think about an aspirational consumer, when it comes to their relationship with a luxury brand, oftentimes that relationship is mostly driven based on, yes, status, buzz, and like social validation, trend relevance. They're not really truly anchored in lasting brand loyalty, but they're more interested in seeking that symbolic or idea of association with the luxury brand. So the idea of them going in to a Sephora and purchasing a YSL lipstick is more driven by status than it is performance. And then some of the, reasons why they would invest in a performance-based brand is because it actually works. So there's a lot of dynamics here, even though I've heard, with YSL lipsticks, they actually keep the lips hydrated. There is, it is about performance, but it's just getting the status signaling. So again, a lot of blurred lines here. And again, aspirational consumers, they were once seen as a reliable revenue stream. And so that's no longer stable, anymore in terms of using the aspirational consumer as a growth strategy for luxury and prestige beauty. It's obviously going to be a different audience, which I'm going to tap into later. So, here are some of the key future-proof solutions that could really help strengthen brand equity, specifically for luxury and prestige beauty sectors. It's actually a category that really needs strong differentiating, a new look on what type of consumer it should really be focusing on for quarters to come. And brand equity to me is very comprehensive. It's product excellence, it's brand experience, and it is also having an efficient and clear yet strategic business model. So I'm going to start off by saying right off the bat that science is no longer enough. You know, while it is important, clinical studies and having a doctor-based skincare brand, it's obviously essential for credibility, but it's no longer a differentiator. It's no longer a strong positioning factor for a luxury or prestige beauty brand. It's beyond that. It definitely has a lot to do with lifestyle integration. How does this product fit into the consumer's everyday life? And there has to be some emotional appeal. Everyone knows that, when you go into the beauty space, obviously a lot of consumers are mostly women, and they have an emotional sense of connection with the brand when they decide to purchase from different brands that they decide to purchase with. But yeah, science is no longer enough. The real focus, if when it comes to science, is really creating a formulation that leverages rarity, scarcity driven actives, proprietary blends, patent complexes that really distinguish luxury and prestige from the mainstream products. So, stronger luxury focused practices that really make the brand feel exclusive and unique and high value is what consumers are looking for and what's going to be important in days to come. Also, brands specifically within the luxury and prestige space need to take back experiential control. You know, being in a Sephora or Ulta is definitely a success, because again, beauty is still has to be reachable in some way. And of course, I'm sure there are ways to roll out within these retailers, whether it's a select amount of stores or maybe it's just exclusively online. Like I know a few brands like La Mer, for example, they're carried exclusively online at Sephora. I don't believe that they're in actual physical Sephora spaces. I might be wrong, but hopefully that's the only strategy that they're using, given that it's a luxury product. There has to be a level of exclusivity. And so true brand equity is built through curated and separate experiences that enforce luxury and prestige. So as the shelves become a lot more saturated, you know, brands specifically in this space can no longer just rely on the beauty advisors that work at a Sephora or Ulta to sell the brand. There are thousands of brands there, and consumers are coming in with tons of choices. And that luxury and beauty brand as being now seen as a just an extra price as opposed to holding value. So dedicated brand advisors or representatives that they deliver a lot more educational and controlled narrative of the brand and an experience that most consumers will remember when leaving a oversaturated store of skincare and makeup products. I mean, that's just a fact. And when it comes to experiences, it obviously needs to extend beyond the traditional product placement. Integration with wellness, we've seen it all the time. Skincare brands integrating with wellness in medical spas, travel, really offering that immersive, personalized engagement will be key in the next few quarters. And it's obviously still maintaining those PR efforts like exclusive brand events, whether in branded environments or within select retail partnerships like, a Bergdorf Goodman or a Saks Fifth Avenue is essential to preserving that luxury or prestige image. Specialization is key as well. So slowly building with a premium and high performing hero product is key for all beauty brands across the board, no matter what market you're in. Given that saturation is happening across all of these different markets, whether you're mass, masstige, premium, luxury, beauty, you definitely have to be able to have that slim product portfolio where you either have a single product or a few product SKUs that really can carry the brand's identity and create desire and build brand equity with. So, especially when it comes to high-end skincare and fragrance, this is a very much like a quality over quantity based approach that enforces that brand credibility and really can show that you can really stabilize trust with a few line of products that are complementary to each other as opposed to hundreds of different products and trying to please everyone. And again, scarcity and exclusivity, I say, definitely reigns supreme. Um, Obviously, like I said earlier, accessible, beauty is accessible in nature, but when it comes to luxury, it can, it's a little bit different. There's a different approach. So still maintaining that reach, but being highly selective, offering limited edition products or invitation only access, like custom creams and exclusive sets are a way to really engage consumers in a more mystique way. Using waiting lists or early access to really create anticipation, and that perceived rarity immediately goes up when you're able to employ these type of strategies. Also, this is a very interesting area too that I'm beginning to see with a lot of luxury and prestige beauty brands. They really have a vertical. So obviously we've seen fashion enter into the beauty space, but now it's, becoming a lot more vice versa approach. So we're seeing beauty brands really move into the fashion and entertainment orbit. This was something that was really highlighted to me with the Met Gala that just happened not too long ago. I believe it was in May, and I've seen a lot of skincare professionals partner with luxury beauty brands like La Mer and La Prairie to get celebrities red carpet ready, prepping the skin before they do makeup and everything. And so that is really how a lot of partnerships are formed. Backstage activation, artist-led sponsorships. These brands can really take center stage when there's a vertical. And so oftentimes those verticals can be unexpected or non-traditional pathways, right? Because we oftentimes think that when it comes to beauty, beauty should stay in the beauty category, like beauty space. But the closest areas would be things like travel, entertainment, and fashion for sure. So the key is here to really expand thoughtfully, choosing verticals that not only elevate the brand, but also reinforce its authenticity. And then, of course, giving that aspirational consumers are pretty much drifting off to focus more so on purchasing more mass beauty brands. It's going to be a lot more stronger for focus on high value clientele, very important consumers, which are also known as VICs. They're moving away from the aspirational middle market consumer is actually one of the best things to do right now. It's not to say that aspirational consumers are going to become obsolete altogether, but when it comes to marketing, selling, and distributing a luxury and prestige beauty product, it's very important in days to come to focus on those high net worth individuals that have always truly represented the luxury market space in general. That is indeed luxury's go-to consumer, the high net worth individual, the very important consumers, those loyal consumers that have been um, pretty much retained for over a certain period of time. They have a lot more greater spending power. They're a lot more loyal than the aspirational consumer who cares about like fleeting trends. And they have a consistent appetite for high quality result driven formulations. And that's just a fact when it comes to high net worth individuals, very important customers. Like there is a strong focus on that right now. Especially within the fashion industry, you're seeing a lot of those luxury legacy brands focusing on those top 1% to really sustain the revenue and keep the revenue stabilized. And so, yeah, mid-tier brands are at risk of becoming obsolete, if they are focused on more like those one-off consumers who really just want something and, to purchase and to invest in like one time, as opposed to being fully immersed into the experience that the brand has to offer. And so, like, with all of that being said, I really want to highlight one of my favorite brands, Dr. Barbara Sturm. And if you guys aren't familiar with her, it is a medical-based skincare brand. Really high luxury German technology is infused through it. And so one of the things that I admire about this brand is that there is a level of exclusivity that I believe that a lot of luxury and prestige beauty brands are missing. Through the hero product, the MC1 blood cream, it's offered on an invitation only basis. So that right there alone is going to enhance brand mystique and desirability. We also are seeing a high touch direct to consumer model where it isn't necessarily on every Sephora shelf, on every Ulta shelf. It's in a lot more specialized beauty retailer like a Bluemercury, but at the same time, they have their own branded boutiques and spas in key global cities like Los Angeles, London, Miami, to name a few. And so they offer personalized consultations and custom regimens through that. Selective prestige distribution as well. And I also feel like in a way that it kind of pairs in with that fashion vertical in a way because a lot of fashion brands are held at a Net-a-Porter, Harrods, or a Saks Fifth Avenue, where this is where Dr. Barbara Sturm is also shelving her products here as well. So it's kind of crossing over into that, even though the brand doesn't really push a fashion vertical. It's in spaces where fashion brands are. It's in spaces where luxury fashion brands are. So that luxury online retailer, luxury retail space is where she is, and that's where most luxury and prestige beauty brands need to be. So, and then when it comes to client experience, of course, it's very individualized, premium positioning, bespoke skincare solutions that really reflect that they are truly a luxury skincare brand. So I'm interested in hearing your guys' comments or questions about where do you think the luxury and prestige beauty space will go? What are some of the challenges that your brand may be facing? And also, if you're interested in really sharing any perspectives about some key solutions that luxury and prestige beauty brands should begin to employ, I'm really interested in knowing. So, yes, I thank you all, and I will see you all next time. Bye.